Okay, hello everybody. For those of you who don't know what UCSF is, it's the University of California, San Francisco, and I run the Entrepreneurship Center there. I'm very excited to be here at TiE. This is my first TiE conference, and it's awesome. You guys are really lucky to have a chance to come to something that's just so filled with great speakers and network. So I want to introduce my panel. The topic today is surviving the competition, standing out in a Me3 world. I think that's like Me Too plus one. And we've got some people who are going to present different aspects of this to you. So first of all, next to me is Weiner.
Oh, Weiner, but I never heard that before.
Weiner, ooh, sorry. Yeah. Good start, right? Chief Marketing Officer of Balbix. So he joined the company in January, and this is the 8th time he's done a startup. He's done many other companies as well. So Balbix is a predictive breach risk management platform that uses AI. And Mark comes from a different space, SD-WAN, where he served as CMO of Versa Networks. He's got over 25 years of leadership and market creation experience in security, networking, cloud, and data center sectors. He's led multiple business units for Cisco and has an MBA from Santa Clara University, where he also teaches. So Mark, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
And next to him is Jocelyn Goldfein, who's a partner at Zetta Venture Partners. I've just learned what Zetta means, so for those of you who are into tech, you also will know why the company got named that. She is a partner in the firm's second fund, and she's looking to back companies that use AI to solve novel problems. She has a background having established VMware's desktop business unit. She became vice president and general manager of a cross-functional product organization that was responsible for a $150 million business and reported directly to the CEO. She also led teams at Facebook that launched major updates to newsfeed, photos, and search, the mobile infrastructure team through a critical period in Facebook's pivot to mobile. And she was an angel investor before Zetta. So thank you, Jocelyn.
Thank you, it's great to be here.
Okay. And then at the end of the table is Nick Mehta, who is CEO of Gainsight. If you were lucky to get up early enough today, you might have picked up a copy of his new book, and I did. Nick was CEO of Live Office, which was acquired by Symantec for $115 million in 2012. He was an EIR at two separate venture firms, Trinity and Accel. He's a general partner at Acceleprise, a SaaS accelerator, and then he started Gainsight in 2013, which is a customer success company, and has raised over $150 million. He's named a top SaaS CEO in 2017 by the SaaS Report. He has an MS in computer science from Harvard. So that's the panel. Great, so just to contextualize this a little bit, I've been around the AI world since the 80s, only I took a break for about 30 years. So I was at Symbolics, a company that sold Lisp processors, hard to say, and back in the 80s, we were just looking for some killer app that would actually sell our machines, and no one really had one. So AI kind of disappeared from the scene for a while. Then in 1995, you may remember some of these milestones. There was a checkers playing program that beat the best world champion. In 2011, Watson won $1 million in Jeopardy against former Jeopardy winners. And then in 2017, we started doing some serious stuff like classifying skin cancer from images, which AI performed equally to dermatologists. And so we are definitely on the upswing here, and in AI 2.0, we are going to be doing some important things. There was a Stanford study in 2010 that showed that 2010 was the start of real growth, and there are thousands of active startups today. So we are going to talk about, if you are one of those active startups, how are you going to differentiate yourself from the crowd? And that's what the theme of the panel is. And I think maybe the best way to start is just to make sure we're all in lockstep on a definition for AI. And who wants to take that off? Just the basic definition. I think that's you, Jocelyn.
Tried to pass it to me.
Nice try.
Sure. I mean, I think I'm almost sad that the industry landed on the term artificial intelligence for this collection of technology, because I feel like it always conjures visions of, like, you know, movies and science fiction and, like, close the pod bay doors. Hal, I'm afraid I can't do that, Dave. And I don't think we're talking about sentience or consciousness when we're talking about this bundle of techniques. But what machine learning, deep learning, and the natural language processing, these other systems that are all, I would say, under the umbrella of artificial intelligence, are techniques that use algorithms usually combined with large data sets to classify, to predict, to optimize, and to otherwise use statistics and pattern matching to arrive at answers to questions. And those techniques have become incredibly powerful in the last 2 decades, not so much and achieving, you know, some of the real amazing milestones that Stephanie name-checked, not so much because of novel algorithms. She's right, these algorithms have been around since the 80s and 90s, but because actually the cloud has unlocked the volume of cheap storage and cheap compute to enable us to put together massive enough data sets to actually arrive at really good answers from these algorithms, and enough compute to process that data in a reasonable amount of time. And so that, I believe, is why we're at the dawn of AI here.
Great. So
or maybe a few years past the dawn, or well into early morning.
You guys jump in, talk about data a little bit and how you differentiate, or anything else you want to comment?
Yeah, I mean, one thing I'd add in just on the definitional piece, as you said, it's been around for a long time. Actually, really cool that you worked at a Lisp startup. Lisp is definitely still the best language ever, if you, from computer science perspective. But the stuff's been around for a long time. I think one thing that's happening in enterprise software, which is the world I live in, is just you're trying to reduce the amount of stuff people have to configure and set up. And so you're just, you know, enterprise software forever has helped you manage business processes like ERP and CRM and things like that. The question is, can you reduce the number of things you have to figure out? Can the system figure more stuff out so it's just easier to get to value and to better value? That's, I think, part of the application.
Absolutely.
And I would agree with what Jocelyn you mentioned as well. Certainly, it's the resources of the cloud, even just the ongoing advances, even in on-prem processing, just the ability to process a lot, because you can apply AI obviously to large data sets to get outcomes. But even like our own company, the innovation they're doing is even applying it to more contained data sets, but being able to look at things in multiple vectors and angles to do it, whether it's huge amounts of data or small sets of data. It's just the ability, given the processing, to do computation that you wouldn't have the power to do with people or with traditional resources.
So can you differentiate on an algorithm alone, or do you need to have the data to be paired with it, or do you need more than just the data?
I'll start there. I think in enterprise software, I think you kind of go through these different periods where for a couple years something is a differentiator. Amazingly, we go back 15 years, being on the internet was a differentiator, right? Your software was on the internet. And obviously, if you think about that now, that's ridiculous that that's a differentiator. For a while, your software was mobile, and that was a differentiator. Your software was social, and that's a differentiator. So in enterprise software, I think we're kind of, to me, we're exiting the period, the last couple years, where AI in your product is a differentiator. Now it is table stakes, it's just how you get things done. I think there's some ways you can make it a differentiator, which others will talk about, but it's no longer just something that makes you stand out, because every big company talks about IBM and Salesforce and everyone else, right? They all have it, so.
Oh, to be really specific on this question about algorithms, I mean, I think it's certainly possible to come up with a really tricky, clever algorithm that nobody's thought of before, to patent it, to protect it, and to solve a hard problem, and if you solve a valuable problem with it that nobody else has solved, then to monetize it. And I've seen recently some very interesting startups in the biometric space that have really novel technology, not just for speech recognition, but to tell if it's live, like one of the problems with speech recognition as replacing a password as a form of biometric security is that you could play a recording of somebody's voice. So they've got a bunch of really novel IP around telling if somebody's speaking live versus listening to a recording, for example. So I think that, as with any kind of novel technical invention, you can have some amount of first mover advantage from that. What gives me pause is, how long can a novel technical invention, you may very well be the first person in history to think of it, but once you've thought of it, if you actually build a great business around it, if it actually is such a valuable problem that you're able to solve with it, with the existence proof of you, will other people be able to come up with meaningfully a similar thing? And so to me, it's not a durable, defensible, long-term competitive advantage. And so what gets me excited to invest and what gets me excited about the defensibility of a startup is actually a proprietary data set, and one that compounds over time. One that has a virtuous loop where the more customers you add, the more data you collect, the more users interact with your software, the better and better and the more and more intelligent the product gets. And then even if there's 20 other startups building AI solutions to do the same thing that you do, their models' predictions won't be as accurate, their recommendations won't be as complete, and because they do not have the compounding data set. And if you are able to have a proprietary data set like that that's not easily duplicated, that I think can be a lasting competitive advantage like any other kind of network effect.
And I would add on with fellow panelists here, I agree, it's, as far as using AI again in differentiator, that short time probably has passed short of proprietary, very special ways. But I look at it in vector a little different. Was actually sharing this with my guest lecturer, was sharing it with my class last night. It's not about AI as a product, at least certainly not at this stage. What problems, fundamentally, the entrepreneurs that you all doing and that would come to Jocelyn and others that I've worked with, what are you trying to solve for your customers? Being at least in enterprise IT and infrastructure security network, what problem are you trying to solve for the customer? Does AI help you solve a real problem you could not have solved before? If it is, that's great. 3 steps in, second meeting in, whatever, you show the customer what you're doing and how you did it, but what problem are you solving? We solve these, big security, hundreds of vectors. How do you do it? You can't do that with people, throw people. AI can solve it great, but I'm not selling AI. I'm fixing this customer's major security issue, and I just happen to do it. Days of VMware, right? We aren't selling virtualization for the sake of virtualization. You want to use all the server CPUs, you want to deploy things faster, you want to be more agile, move workloads. How do you do it? Virtualization, same analogy. That's my 5 cents.
Yeah, and VMware is actually a great example of something that had a really novel technical invention that was thought previously impossible, which was to virtualize the x86. And that gave them a first mover advantage that did last all of about, maybe almost 10 years. But eventually that advantage was eroded.
And they're lucky. That's a rare one, right? Most things
and that's incredibly rare.
That's like 1 year, 2 years. Heck, SD-WAN stuff came out, the whole revolution in wide area networking. You had 4 dawn, 5 dawn startups in the same year. So there was zero saver there.
One other thing I'd add in, I really like Jocelyn's comment about data becoming a proprietary advantage and a differentiator. To me, when I look at companies, there's 2 kinds of ways that they're going to have data as a differentiator. It's either before or after the ... What I mean by that is, at the beginning, you somehow have some kind of data network that's proprietary and it creates proprietary. That's amazing, right? Some people, though, their pitch is, once we get everyone in the world to use us, and we have every customer, we're gonna have so much proprietary data, right? So that's great, obviously, once you're a huge company, but I don't think it really helps you get off the ground. I see a lot of companies where their data network pitch is after the ... and I think that's something that it's not as authentic.
And time to market, what's that gonna?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it can still be real. I think actually, some of the big AI winners of the last decade are companies that were not AI native. I'll name check Netflix and Facebook for 2, where that was very much the path. First, they got every movie watcher in the world, and then next they build AI to do really good movie recommendations. Same with Facebook. We were around for more than 5 years before we had so much information about what people were clicking on and commenting on that actually my first big project at Facebook was adopting machine learning to rank your newsfeed, and which has proven to be a lasting and durable moat for Facebook, if occasionally with some unintended consequences.
Too much information?
So Jocelyn, you see pitches all day long, I presume, right? Without revealing who or what, just sort of what kinds of things have stood out in your mind as a AI-based company?
Well, I think it's, it starts with the table stakes that any venture investor would look for in any startup. Of course, it has to be a really great team. It has to be a really big market. It has to be a novel product insight. It has to be solving a problem that people really care about, that is meaningful to people, not technology for the sake of technology. And it has to be defensible, because in this day and age, most technology alone is just commodity. It's not enough to just be on the internet. It's not enough to just have tech. And then Zetta, above and beyond that, does look for evidence of data network effects. But I will say, I think that because we focus only on AI, I will say, I think there is something special about AI. It's always been true that you've looked for a startup, a team that has both knowledge of the problem, the domain in which they're trying to solve problems, and that has knowledge of the technology that can be used to solve it. I think that's, if anything, 10 times more true in this realm of AI. Because just blindly applying statistical analysis, blindly applying pattern matching in data sets without a deep understanding of what that data means can lead you way down, way down the rabbit hole and way off track. Correlation and causation, you have to be able to tell apart, and that comes from deep and rich domain knowledge. And by the way, deep domain knowledge and connections are also what give you access to a great data set from the jump, as opposed to after the ... as Nick puts it. So I think that marriage of domain and technology is more, and also this technology is hard and it's novel and it's cutting edge, and you can't just hire great machine learning people off the street either. So a domain expert who doesn't bring the technology expertise is going to have a tough time in this market, and a technologist who does not have the domain expertise is also going to have a tough time. So if I had advice to aspiring founders out there, it would be, if you don't have both of those, go find a co-founder. Go build the team that's complementary, because I think you need both things in the founding DNA.
Okay. I'm going to ask the guys to respond also just to how they use AI in their companies and what the value proposition is. But before I do that, we're going to take questions pretty soon. So if you have a question, you might start thinking about it and line up at a microphone. So Mark, why don't you start? How is AI used in your company, and what's its role?
Certainly. So, we're not supposed to advertise our products, so I won't do that. But basically what Balbix does, we have a device we plug into your network and very rapidly learn in hours, if not 1 to 2 days, all the assets you have across your network. How important are they? What are they doing? What shape are they in? How do they work with each other? And we have about 20 different, between sequence learning and deep learning algorithms, about 20 different for different sets and processes, basically to pull out what's important, what's not, what priority, what shape are things in, not just if it's patched or unpatched, but all this thinking. We have different algorithms in different areas looking at, again, what shape is everything in, what's the relation, how are things working together, to figure out what is most likely to get breached, to think it through. Other algorithms will go, all right, based on that, what's important, what isn't. This is a DNS server that can take down my entire company, or running the SAP. This is a print server for the facilities department, who cares? And we'll sit there and give you this prioritized list, fix this and this. Other things, you can click it, it says, here's how you fix it, A, B, C, go be productive, go do it. Different algorithms, the natural language processing, you can put in a search, what's gonna get hacked first? What's WannaCry gonna do to me? We have different algorithms and different we use to fix and run all those different things to make the system very natural for users.
So what's your company's value proposition?
Very simple at a high level, sorry as the marketing guy, but we help companies get ahead of breaches. Instead of today, an attack comes in, a lot of them are successful, and you go, damn, how do I run and fix it? We actually do it where, figure that out, what's your environment, how do you go ahead and fix things before things happen?
Okay, so nothing about AI, that's a tool you're using.
Yep, AI, again, these different 20 or so algorithms to figure out, from figuring what's in your network, to what's important, what isn't, to what are they doing, to how do you fix it, and all those are different algorithms used to apply all that.
So you're making the point is that you're not differentiating based on AI,
Nope.
It's your tool to make your system work.
To solve what the customer challenge is, and this is how we go off and do it. Matter of fact, we had AI on there somewhere. I stuck it 2 layers down in the hierarchy of the messaging, so customers can say, you avoid breaches, and here's, because you predict it, you control it. And by the way, how do you do it? AI. I'm not saying I had an AI security. Some of my competitors even say .ai is their domain. Maybe it helps you get funded, but what I'm saying, as far as the customer goes to the website and figure out what do we do for them, AI is simply how we do it. That's in the product page, not in the value prop.
Great. Nick?
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing where our value prop is helping companies drive much more success and better experiences for their clients. And that's a big, broad problem. And there's a ton of data that our customers have about their clients, right? Data about surveys that they fill out and open support tickets and how much they're using their product and all that. So we have this kind of huge sea of data. Every client has different kinds of data. There's a variety problem in our business, not a volume problem, but a variety problem. Everyone has different kinds of data. And so every product team in our company has some AI component. For example, the team that takes customer feedback surveys and analyzes them, you get a lot of text in those surveys. ways. So you can do some basic natural language processing, sentiment analysis, are they happy or not? The team that's looking at measuring the health of a customer across all the data is going to use data science to figure out what that score should be. So everyone's kind of got a little bit of AI and data science in what they do. In the early days, we actually thought of it as a separate thing, and honestly, nothing ever shipped. Like we had a team working on AI and data science and everyone else, and like that team working on AI and data science, nothing shipped. Nothing actually ended up in customers' hands. And now that team, their job is to get stuff into the core product team's hands and make it part of their sprint backlogs. That's really changed a lot.
Any questions from the floor?
Can you hear me? Yes. So my question is, those of us who came from the traditional technologies, the traditional RDBMS systems, and now you come to this conference, AI, and AI, and how do you transition to that? I know look at the problem and see, are you able to solve those problems from historical solutions? But then where do you start? I mean, you see coming from the historic technology, the relational systems, which are not that straightforward in the CAP theorems. What do you do to go to the next level, because you are now in the AI world, and we are still sitting in the draconian world of some of the health systems that we have still run on the mainframes, and they run on a relational database, clunkier, slower. Look at the Medicare and Medicaid population, what kind of systems they use. How do we transition? What's the starting point?
So just to repeat that, how do you transition from old technologies to AI? Is that the essence of it? Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Well, I think as an entrepreneur, if your goal is to be an entrepreneur in this world, you've simply got to educate yourself. I mean, I think that, and if you are an enterprise that's already large and is looking to modernize, then you also should modernize. I think this wave is I think the largest technology wave, the largest transformative platform of my lifetime since the internet, and that includes the cloud, that includes SaaS, that includes mobile, that includes social. It's much bigger than those. And so, Siebel did not survive the transition to SaaS. Salesforce came along and ate their lunch. PeopleSoft did not survive these companies survived, but they are no longer the dominant category kings that they once were. Now it's Workday. And so if you wish to remain on top, you do need to move forward. But I think the key is to do what Mark said, which is not adopt AI for the sake of AI, but to find a problem that is important to solve, where you can get a 10x improvement or advantage, and to solve that with AI. And if you're an enterprise, I would think about homegrown. I would think about buying from the IBMs and Amazons and Alphabets of the world. And I would also think about partnering and buying from startups who are solving point problems. And you can adopt it piece by piece. You don't have to apply. You don't have to apply AI to every single thing that you do, but maybe the most critical things you do. As an entrepreneur, you've got to learn this technology. But the good news is, underlying AI is a lot of distributed systems, which will look really familiar to you, and that's what's making it possible. So start from the pieces you know and evolve forward to and build on your foundations, which are strong, and add the knowledge you've missed.
Okay, another question from the floor.
So the session is standing out in a Me3 world, right? And there's a lot of talk about AI, and you're right that it's not necessarily the foundation of advantage. And I frankly, there's also a lot of talk about product. But if I think about at least the two product folks on the team, or on the panel, and I know a little bit about Gainsight, and I've followed you guys for a while, and for a variety of reasons. It wasn't just the tech. So the question I have is, differentiation and lasting advantage come from many things that have nothing to do with product.
Totally.
It's evangelizing the space like the Gainsight did in CSM. I don't know as much about Balbix, but I'm sure you guys did something similar. So can you broaden the conversation for a bit and talk about if you want lasting advantage, defined as 2 or 3 years maybe, or 4 years in today's world, how does one do that beyond focusing on AI, algorithms, tech, product? There's got to be other things.
So I think the question is, how do you broaden your advantage beyond the technology itself?
Yeah, advantage is not just tech, right?
Okay.
Yeah, totally. No, actually, I'm glad you asked that, because that's definitely what I'm passionate about. I think there's some businesses where you do build a structural network effect lock-in. Jocelyn can talk about that more. But I do think that if you just look at a lot of great companies and you look over the long term, what are their differentiators? Very simplistically, it's things like brand and culture and them appealing to a certain group where they built a community around that group, right? Like that's, in our world, we're selling to this market called customer success, and it was a new job, and we said, hey, we're going to build the company that's focused on this new job. And this is actually a lot kind of what Marketo did in marketing, if folks know Marketo, right? And so we created a conference for these people, and we wrote a book, and we actually created an online university to teach people customer success, and created a job board so people could find jobs. So a lot of that where it's actually about the human beings, connecting to them. Like another thing I'm a real big fan of is opening your culture to your customers. So a lot of companies, they have a culture inside and they have the brand outside. But I think the best brands are integrated with the culture. So our customers know our values. We're very open with them about all the zaniness that happens at our company. And I think those kinds of things can create more lasting differentiation.
Okay.
I agree. Just to summarize with Nick, it's not any different in the AI market than it is in a number of other markets, particularly as an entrepreneur. Like you said, you have to do the proper go-to-market, do the thought leadership, create your category, build your culture. And you can do that, be it in social media, you can do that in security, or you can do that in AI. It's not about just AI. It's the same principles apply.
How about a question in the back? Back microphone?
Great, thank you. This question is for Mark, but for anyone else as well. I really like what you said about, AI is hidden on the product page and you're selling the value of security. My question, especially in this Me3 world, is how do you show the value of all the attacks you prevented, in a high stakes situation where you can't do a simple A/B test? All the stuff you prevented, all the bad things you prevented from happening, when they never know that it would have happened, how do you monetize that? Do you have any advice?
Sure. So it's difficult to show, what you've done and what you've perhaps prevented. What we can do, we can plug our solution in, and not to market this, but just to answer your question, we can plug it in and show that, and within a day or two, we can show a customer, did you even know you have all these devices? Some of them go, my God, this is 20% of things I didn't even know I had in my network. By the way, we have little charts we can show. Here's red, yellow, and green, what the status of it is. We can map it for the folks like the CISOs that buy it. Hey, look, in 6 months or in 12 months or in 3 months, look what got green or yellow versus red. So you can show what you did. First, goodness, did you know you had it? And B, just with the charts and the mapping, AI and other powered, not AI, but powered, you can see what it was before and after. So you can justify what you're doing, show your board and show your CEO that these days are looking for, hey, what's your posture and how are you getting better?
Do you have some purchase orders available? No, sorry. Okay.
I can pass it to my sales colleagues.
Yeah, there you go. Okay.
It was more on how do you monetize it?
How do you, I wouldn't, and again, sometimes you can or you can't. I'd say in the monetization, as we go and sell, we can sit there and do that proof of concept, much as you don't want to do a POC where you can to get a faster sale, but we can sit there and show, plug it in, here's what you have, did you know this? No. Do you really want this? Here's what's going to cost you. Is it worth it to you? Yes. I'm not going to necessarily market to externally, what did I solve for customer X or Y? As we get a bigger data set, we can amalgamate that and do that over time. But in these earlier days, we can just show a customer, did you know this? No. You want to buy this? Yes. That's how I'd probably monetize and sell it. More pre versus post.
Great.
Okay, we probably have time for one more very quick question. Who has a quick question? Nobody. Okay, go ahead.
So Jocelyn, you mentioned the value of having a domain expert to kind of bootstrap that data generation process. I had a question, are there other kind of strategies and vectors that you see to kind of bootstrap that virtuous cycle, especially in the enterprise or for UCSF, like for health, where it's very sensitive data, where people are kind of reluctant to hand that over to just anybody?
Yeah. I don't know if I have any silver bullets for health other than to partner with a large organization. I mean, the great thing about some of these hospitals and clinics is that if you get a big hospital network as your first customer, they've got they've got plenty of data. They've got enough data just with one customer. So I would say you got to go elephant hunt in health. But there's lots of other clever ways to bootstrap big data sets. You can build a free app, that you can have a freemium model, like you can accumulate data from your customers, you can turn your customers' usage of your product into the effort of labeling data, but customers and partners are the natural ways.
Okay, final thoughts. We have 10 seconds each. Start, Nick. 10 seconds. What do you want to tell them to do?
Differentiation is about finding things that'll still matter 10 years from now.
Good one.
You know, it's a cliche for a reason. To disrupt an incumbent, you got to be 10 times better or 10 times cheaper, preferably both.
Find real customer problems and apply AI to it that you couldn't have solved or otherwise.
Great. That's what I was going to say. Go talk to customers, find out what their needs are, then come up with a value proposition that works. Make sure you have product market fit. AI can fit someplace into that, but only after you've defined all those important things first.
Customer intelligence, you can apply artificial intelligence too.
There you go. Okay. All right. Thank you, panel.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Stephanie.